Can you just walk through your investment case on NVIDIA? And more importantly, as we think ahead, what are some of the growth opportunities, or what's the growth potential for NVIDIA, even after such a robust period of growth that we've seen?
Well, it's a very important question for us since it is our largest holding. And we've known about NVIDIA and followed NVIDIA for many years before we actually owned it. We had been following NVIDIA, and it's, thought it was a great company with great technology. So in its early days, the graphic processing unit, or the GPU, the primary customer for that were gamers, largely young males playing online video games. And so the demand for the chip was very cyclical, driven by either in advance in the chip that required everyone to update, or new games that required more horsepower. And as those of you who may know, who have invested in technology before, semiconductor demand is often driven by the demand for the end-use device, whether it be a watch or whatever it may be. In this case, it was gamers. And we thought it was a great business, but it was a little bit too cyclical for us. What we started to notice, John, as we got into the latter part of the teens of the 2000s, around 2015 or 16, that after 40 or plus years, close to 50 years of Moore's Law, the doubling of a transistor on a chip every 18 months or 2 years, because we were getting so small with the transistor size, we were starting to have trouble with Moore's Law. And we thought the CPU makers like Intel were having trouble continuing to progress at the rate they needed to. And so as a solution to that, what we started to see emerge was something called accelerated computing, which was the use of these GPUs in data centers to get around the problems of CPUs not improving fast enough. And this also was corresponded to the just the massive amounts of data going through these data centers, big data and big data analytics. And that's when we started to make our investments in NVIDIA, because at that point, we realized that largely most people on the street hadn't caught on to the fact yet, or wasn't showing up in the models that we were looking at, that the data center was going to emerge as the next huge growth driver for NVIDIA, and that eventually automobiles would emerge as the growth driver. That was sort of our initial thesis. What then started to happen, what happened that was sort of is what's going to really accelerate and enlarge the TAM for NVIDIA, were the development of these large language AI models, these transformer models. There's a breakthrough in the algorithms, essentially. And this is what we now know of as ChatGPT or Gemini, there's a bunch of them now, but ChatGPT was sort of what caught the public's attention.